Tulti, who's the Executive Director of Justice and Democracy for Libya. You've been talking to witnesses at Tripoli airport. What are they telling you?
Yes, hi. Today, this early morning, credible sources have seen air cargo planes, the military planes, have Algerian identity, landed in a Matiga airport, and they loaded mercenaries and weapons to continue the supply of the air bridge to destroy and commit further massacre against civilians in Benghazi and in the eastern region.
And do you sort of believe those reports? Because we have also at AlJazeera been hearing reports of mercenaries being used. Why would mercenaries be used?
Yes. Okay, that's a good question. The reason Libyans in general, they belong to different tribes and regions. They do not have enough pro-Gaddafi that they can kill other Libyans, and therefore the regime is taking advantage of illegal immigrants trying to pursue better future by migrating to Europe. So hundreds of those poor guys, they get captured, then they send them to concentration camps. Most of them are Somalis, Eritreans, Chadians, and Gaddafi gives them like incentives, money, cash, liquid dollars, and other incentives to get them involved in this mess and this horrific massacre.
Now, you started, Ashraf, by telling us that you talked to witnesses at Tripoli airport who saw planes being loaded with weapons and troops, supposedly en route to Benghazi.
Right.
Now, I'm just having a message saying that one resident in Al-Burqa in Benghazi says a real massacre took place today and more than 75 people are reported dead. People are terrified. They say tank gunfire is being used against local people. Do you have any more evidence or reports from Benghazi supporting any of that?
Yes, we've spoke with some sympathizers and some supporters from Benghazi this afternoon when we were demonstrating in front of the White House. The estimates, we don't have statistics yet, but the estimates, the killed people so far are exceeding 100, and there are over 175 injured. And that is, it's ongoing, and we haven't have any accurate or statistics to come up with real figures. Now, I urge the international community to help the people and to stop those massacres. I also urge the UN to intervene. That's urgent. The US has to help. Mr. Obama has to exert some pressure. The European community has to exert pressure on Libya, I mean the Libyan government. We cannot let this massacre continue, and we cannot watch. Also, the Red Cross has to enter Libya and see the atrocities, people running out of supplies. Hospitals cannot accommodate the injured people in the eastern area in particular. As you know, the uprising is spread all over now in Garian.
This is what I want to know,
also,
Ashraf, because we have heard about the reports of the violence in Benghazi and Tobruk, other cities, but not in Tripoli. Although one correspondent reported to us in the last hour that he'd seen riot police. He hadn't seen evidence of violence, but he'd seen what he thought were protests beginning in Tripoli. Have you any evidence of that? And if there is violence or protest in Tripoli, what does that mean for the leadership?
There are a lot of protests in Tripoli, but the regime is, the security agents in the regime are very concentrated. They have all the means. It is, as you know, Tripoli, relatively speaking, is a small city. Most of the people do not know each other, so that works in favor of the regime. Therefore, there are a lot of security agents, revolutionary committees, and they are controlling and terrifying the people. There are a lot of attempts to demonstrate, but they do control them. They send cars and they crash into them. They broke a lot of demonstrators' legs, as we've seen in some videos. Tripoli is percolating as we speak. We think when Tripoli revolts, that will be the end of the regime.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, Ashraf Tuatif in Libya.
Thank you.
In Algeria, police have been cracking down on protesters in the capital, Algiers. Thousands of anti-government demonstrators took to the streets but were thwarted by riot police. A member of the opposition has been injured. Imran Khan reports.
An unprecedented crackdown. Riot police bang their shields, creating a menacing presence, sending out a clear message: protests will not be tolerated. Still, it didn't stop some from trying to get their voice heard. Holding anti-government signs and chanting out loud, "Algeria, free and democratic." They want change in the government of Abdelaziz Bouteflika. He's been in power since 1999. The protesters' main demands are for jobs and for better living conditions. This is the second pro-democracy rally in a week, and the riot police quickly move in. Arrests are made. Still, it doesn't quell the anger.
Why we came out to protest that dictator's government? We are fed up with his government. We are fed up with this government. The regime must fall.
So far, the heavy-handed tactics of the government have worked. Protests have been sporadic, but with unrest spreading, Algiers is tense, and nobody has any real idea where these protests could go. Imran Khan, AlJazeera.
One person has reportedly been killed in pro- and anti-government protests in Yemen, although the Interior Ministry is denying that. Thousands of opposition protesters clashed with government supporters armed with guns and rocks in the capital, Sana'a. Riot police opened fire on the protesters. Dozens of people were hurt. There's also been unrest in the port city of Aden. In Kuwait, police have used tear gas against hundreds of protesters and arrested dozens of others. The demonstrators are stateless Arabs living in Kuwait. They're demanding citizenship, free education, healthcare and jobs benefits available to all Kuwaiti nationals. Anti-government protesters in Bahrain have retaken Pearl Roundabout after police and soldiers were ordered out of the symbolic site. The government says it's opened a dialogue with the opposition groups demanding reform. Earlier, Bahrain's Crown Prince appealed for calm on state television and called for a national day of mourning. James Bays reports from the capital, Manama.
The Pearl Roundabout, the place that's become a symbol of protest in Bahrain, back in the hands of thousands of people. This had for a time become a closed military zone, the place where soldiers had fired live rounds, rubber bullets and tear